Renovation! Utah!
Hey, welcome back to Slapshot Utah. Just because it's the offseason, it doesn't mean that the Utah Mammoth organization don't have big plans and have not been busy. Welcome to Slapshot Utah. John, my man, how you feeling postseason?
It's the first episode of postseason. As you can see, we're under construction for the season 2 unveiling. But you know, Leroy, I went 30-something years without being too invested in the NHL, and this has been one of the longest weeks of my life. I miss going to the Delta Center. I miss seeing everybody out there. I miss the Twitter. Twitter's just not the same anymore. But you know, it's been fun watching the Delta Center remodel things coming out. It's been really fun watching the playoffs, but you know, I really miss the boys.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like having a limb amputated for a week or two. There's this old itch, this compulsion to want to turn on Utah 16 or SEG Plus or whatever. You're like, oh, when's the team play? Oh, that's right. It's just the Carolina Hurricanes and the Colorado Avalanche this week. Okay, you mentioned DC renovations. Before we start talking about playoff hockey, let's talk about the Delta Center. They have plans. We knew that they did. So what are they doing this season? Sounds like on the north end, they're going to turn that into the wall, the Mammoth wall of the Wasatch. Something like that. I don't know what they're going to... What's that?
I think it's the south end.
Is it the south end? Okay.
Yeah.
It kind of makes more sense. It's kind of where that Vivint party deck, that whatever it is that's up there, is already at, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's an awesome idea. I saw someone on Twitter earlier say we should call it the slopes or something. There's a lot of we could call it the Wasatch Front. I don't know what to call it, but I'm excited for that. The only thing that's really going to suck, and this is just me as an observer and a fan that goes to sporting events, you know, those aisles are going to be like 30 people wide. So if you get seat 17 and 18, oh, excuse me. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. You know, like that's gonna be crazy.
Well, and besides that, which, you know, the finished product might be pretty cool. Of course, I take it we're going to spend most of the season with a large tarp over the south end, or is it going to be done by the time we get started? I didn't see that.
I think they're getting it done because
they're going to get it done.
The goal was to get one side done because there's no events there until October.
Okay, so they're going to go around the clock and get it done.
Yeah.
Well, that's nice. And then of course the following season they're going to do the north end then. But the interesting thing, John Stradamus, the interesting thing is they're going to have, what is it? The pagodas? What are they calling it? The
gondola.
Gondola.
The gondola section, where you're literally gonna be, if you look straight ahead, you're gonna see the goal horn. Like when they score, you might burst an eardrum because even being below it, it's loud.
So if the listener doesn't know exactly what we're alluding to, so if you've been into the Delta Center, you can think of where the press boxes are. That's at the very top level. At the top level,
back to the wall.
Those are the press boxes. Well, the idea is above the press boxes is to build a gallery, a balcony, if you will, pagodas, which are suspended seating boxes above the press boxes, way up there. But
yeah,
it sounds like it could end up being a hell of a lot of fun. I wonder how much those seats are going to go for once they finally open.
Oh, you know I'm getting a ticket. I gotta see it because you're so high up. You might as well have a bucket of T-shirts that I can just grenade throw down to the crowd because I'm so high in the air. Like if there's a hat trick, your hat might catch some air like a UFO and float up a little bit before it hits the ice.
It's way
gonna be
up
so
there.
high.
Yeah, you're gonna have to try it at least once to. But that's a couple years down. But look,
hey, I'll tell you what though, if if from that gondola, if Tusky zip lines down onto the ice, that might be one of the most, instead of coming out and they have Tusky on the ice like they do now,
Zips
if
down
that
from
man
the
zip lines down, or not man, he's a mammoth. If that mammoth zip lines
pachyderm.
down, yeah, that would be an epic entrance, dude.
It would be. Yeah, the playoff
Parachutes down.
pachyderm.
That's
Um,
above the nosebleeds. Like, I
it's
don't think people
way up.
understand, like, if someone comes, if and you're an LA Kings fan and you get the gondola seat and you just fly in, you're gonna be about 5,000 feet above sea
Well,
level
and what I don't
in
think
those
I
seats.
get is, look, you already know from sitting on one of the ends, if you're too high up, it's the seating below you blocks one goal, but it's the Jumbotron, that big ass monolith Jumbotron that blocks almost the other goal. I don't know how those pagodas, but what are gondolas? Is that what we're calling them?
Gondola.
How are you going to even see past the Jumbotron?
Well, the John Stradamus in me is gonna drop some news, people. Brand new Jumbotron is coming to the Delta Center. They're working with the same people who did the SoFi Stadium in LA where the Rams and the Chargers play. They're working with that same team. A little birdie who I got on the inside is working with them. I'm not allowed to say much. He actually, that's as much as I'm gonna be real. John Stradamus, that's all the information I got because
Barbers,
he told me he can't tell me everything.
barbers and hairdressers always know all the backroom deals and who everybody else's spouse is sleeping with,
Yep.
seems like.
I know.
Yeah.
I know way more than I want to know, but not about the Delta Center. They
Yeah.
tell that's as much as I know. So, but
Okay,
it's
well,
pretty cool.
then fine. Let's talk scandal, if you will. What about the Toronto Maple Leafs? Everybody says the NFL
Oh
draft
my
is rigged.
god.
How could the Maple Leafs possibly get this pick? John, tell me what your pick is. Tell me what your take is on the NHL draft. Wow. The NHL draft, Mr. Coyote. Tell me what you think.
Well, wasn't weren't the wasn't it 15 or 14 straight seasons that the Coyotes had the best chance to win the number 1 overall pick, and they didn't get it a single freaking time. And
Yeah.
now the Maple Leafs in the last 10 years get a number 1 overall pick that seem to always be in the playoffs when they're not getting the number 1 pick. It is rigged. I am Today's the NBA lottery too. If the Jazz don't get a top 3 pick, it is proof. Actually, here's my conspiracy, people, since I know you guys want to hear it. So last year, the Jazz had the best chance to get the number 1 overall pick, and they got the 5th, which Ace Bailey's awesome. Love him. But I think, and then the Mavericks got Cooper Flag number 1 overall because they traded Luca to the Lakers. That was some backroom deals if I've ever heard one. But my conspiracy theory is Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, talked to Ryan Smith and said, "Hey, buddy, look, there's this kid that's going to BYU, and I know you love BYU. I got to give this big white guy to Dallas. I know he would have thrived in Utah, but hey, we're going to give you AJ next year. So watch. If the Jazz get the number 1 overall pick, John Stradamus is right again."
Hey, the Jazz, it's about their time, you know.
Yeah.
And I know that that's what a lot of NHL teams think when they get up to their turn in the draft of possibly getting. Look, the NHL draft is run by a company called Ernst and Young. Billions of dollars of global revenue. They don't just do sports drafts. They're a securities firm that does all sorts of things. Their entire reputation is built and bent around around the confidence of this sort of thing. So it's not something that is being run interior with weighted balls, or at least that would be very conspiratorial. Moreover, do you remember a few years back when the Blackhawks won the draft? Oh, everybody said it
Connor
was rigged.
Bedard.
Do you remember last year when we won the draft lottery? And people said, Oh, Gary Bettman hooking up his buddy Ryan Smith, the new franchise. You can tell the whole thing is rigged. So, what I've noticed is, especially if it's a big market like Toronto or like the New York Rangers or anyone else, Vancouver, gosh, they had the best chances and they didn't get it. But it's
Fourth, right?
always
Or
the
no, they got
big
second. They got
markets.
second.
Did they get second? When the big
Yeah, they got
market
second.
gets the pick, everybody freaks out. So I have a hard time believing it's rigged, although the NBA draft, not so sure. Look, John, I saw the balls. Did you see the balls? How can they fake the balls? At least in the NHL, we get to see the balls.
Right. Well, in the NBA, they took it behind closed doors, and then there's the conspiracy about how they threw they threw the Magic's envelope in the freezer for like an hour before, so they could pick the coldest envelope. There's a lot of conspiracy theories out there. I just, I, I, it bums me out when I see, because as a fan of small market teams the only way to get good is through the draft, you know? And so it seems like it's always rigged when it's a big market. But
Especially with the
also,
Jazz, with the free agent problem, you're right. With the
yeah.
Jazz, it's even more desperate for you to tank and get that pick. And when it doesn't turn out, it's just banging your head against a
Well,
concrete wall.
and then this year, we're the first team to ever get fined for tanking, which is insane. They've been in the league since 1974, never moved up in the drafts, never had a number 1 overall pick. And the
Better get
one
that.
year right, and then the one year they play the game that they designed, it's all of a sudden it's a problem, you know? So, I'm on board. Anyone that follows me on Twitter knows I'm all into the conspiracies. I think it's all bullshit. But another thing that I have a problem with, Leroy, is the way the NHL has scheduled this playoffs. Because I know people that are listening have been watching the playoffs. Avalanche lost last night, so that's dope that that's going to keep on going. But the fact that Game 3 for the Habs and the Sabres happens tonight, and the Canes are already done. They swept
Yep.
them. If this goes to 7 games, the Canes are gonna have 10 days off. That's crazy. And I do think, like, if you sweep a team, you do deserve to have a break or whatever. But why do they like game 3 is tonight and they're done?
Yeah. So I did a look into that. We didn't even have round one finished, and they had the Flyers and the Hurricanes on. And of course, like as you mentioned, that series is now a sweep. So, like you're right, this layover for the Hurricanes is going to be incredible. Meanwhile, I looked into why they did that, and what it is ABC had a primetime spot. And the NHL, look, the NHL doesn't pull numbers the same way the NFL, the NBA does. They make the schedule and the networks follow suit. But with the NHL, they saw an opportunity to take ABC's
Mm.
primetime spot and they said, we'd prefer the exposure. However, it might have backfired because we have the possibility coming up here in a week here where we're only going to have one hockey series. You're going to have one Stanley Cup playoff game every like there's going to be maybe
3
two
days or
next
something,
week.
yeah.
Yeah. So, you live by the sword, you die by the ABC programming sword. Nevertheless, yeah, it is a little frustrating. Kind of to have one at 3-0 and the other one seeming like it's 1-1 and going to be a real battle. Speaking of battles, it looks like Colorado, Minnesota might be a series. Minnesota came back with, I'm watching the Colorado players push the Wild around for those first two games. I didn't have
Yeah.
a lot of faith in the Wild, but the Wild with
They
some
came out last night.
they sure did. And then, hey, maybe the Utah Mammoth lost to a pretty good playoff team in the Vegas Golden Knights.
Knights are looking
Beat
good, dude.
well, beaten up on the Anaheim not so mighty Ducks. Um, that's what's going on in the West. I mean,
Well, let's touch on
Carolina
that real
killing it.
quick.
Yeah.
It's like it's so I always like the funny thing about watching sports talk or podcasts or anything or the hot takes that people like my favorite is when they go, "This guy just doesn't have it. This guy doesn't have the this or that." And Mitch Marner got a lot of that in Toronto, and
He
then
sure
came
did.
out and got a hat trick in the playoffs.
Yeah.
It goes to show, especially like with the Mammoth and the Coyote, like where you are and in the environment you're at, you can strive. That's why a lot of people are mad about the JJ Paterka, Josh Doan. We don't is that a player issue, or is it the fact that Josh Doan is really, really good in the Sabres system and the coaching and everything? And Paterka, although didn't have a bad season, didn't impact it in a way that maybe some people thought. But Mitch Marner leaving Toronto, going to Vegas, having he can't score in the playoffs. I think he's got like 5 goals in this
Yeah.
series
He's
alone.
leading. Yeah. He's
Yeah,
killing it.
so it goes to show like we might have our opinions on players. Like Tanev pissed me off all year, but he was a hard worker. There's an old saying: if hard work determined the boss, the donkey would own the farm. And he worked his ass off, but I didn't really see production on the screen. But maybe he goes to another team and he's MVP of the league next year. We just never know. And that's what's fun about the offseason. I've What if Austin Matthews comes to Utah and has a Mitch Marner type explosion after leaving the Toronto Maple Leafs? I don't know, Leroy. It's
Or
pretty
even Connor
interesting to watch.
McDavid for that much. Yeah,
Yeah,
listen, man. Look, when you talk about Tanev, all right. Yeah, you're right. Regular seasons, we were frustrated. A lot of healthy scratches. Like it's like, what did we pick this guy up for? Then you see him in the playoff round, and you say, "Oh, I understand now. Andre Tourigny is the carpenter, and the roster is the toolkit." And for the Stanley
exactly.
Cup, the tool that he needs is snot rocket Brandon Tanev, and you can see that we needed it. And so, that being said, what did John Tortorella say about Mitch Marner after he has his hat trick? I don't remember the exact quote, but what it pretty much was is Tortorella saying, I don't know what the issue is. Tool works great for us, might be the user. He didn't say that, but that's what he was basically saying
Yeah,
is Mitch Marner, this guy's an assassin. Maybe the real problem is that, well, your organization sucks, which
right.
coupled with the whole first pick of the NHL draft, I mean, who is presumably going to be Gavin McKenna. If you're Gavin McKenna, do you want to play for the Toronto Maple Leafs? Do you? I mean, we talked before, like, was the problem the player, or is it the problem that Toronto is a toxic market? And if anybody just made the case for that, it's Mitch Marner.
And Quinn Hughes. Quinn Hughes
Yeah.
leaves Vancouver, and I think he got the second star last night in their 5-1 win over the Avs. A lot has to do if you watch any type of sport. Look, and I'm not trying to slander anything, but if you're the top quarterback in the NCAA and you get drafted by the Jets or Browns, just look forward to wherever you end up 4 years later because it's not happening. And I love Brandon, Utah Hawk. He's a Jets fan. He'll tell you to your face. Our ownership and coaching and everything sucks. It all starts from the top down. And Vegas has a very, very good front office, as we've seen. And so, shout out to Mitch Marner for redeeming his career in Las Vegas with he's killing it. They play tonight. I can't wait to watch.
Yeah, well, and for that matter, despite our recent bitter rivalry, props to the Vegas Golden Knights organization.
Yeah.
It's an organization that doesn't want to accept losing as an alternative, and you can see doing something like getting Tortorella on just pretty much for the playoffs. Not only does it feel like maybe it's paying off, but they look like they could end up making a run. I don't know. I don't think anybody's
Yeah.
getting through the Avalanche in the West, but we'll see.
Hey, you know,
Yeah. Any
if
other?
I
Yeah,
was
go
gonna
ahead.
say they finished the Ducks out in 5, and that Wild and Avalanche go to 7. They get a couple days off.
Yeah.
They go into Colorado, steal one at home, come back, win 2 of their 2 at Vegas. They're up 3-1. Hey,
We
you
won
never know.
we won 2 games against the Knights. Let me ask you a quick question, John. How is it going to change your perspective on what happened in the 2026 playoffs run for the Utah Mammoth if it turns out that we get eliminated by what ends up being the Stanley Cup champ. Like, if
Yeah.
Vegas could get there, how would that adjust how you feel about the 26th season?
I mean, to be honest, it wouldn't change too much because
Really?
I just know Vegas is a really good team. We've said it. I've said it since the beginning. They had like 8 Stanley Cup winners on their team. And their coach, Torts, is a legend.
Yep.
You know, like obviously I'm bummed out, but we won. We won one in Vegas.
Yeah.
Like I mean, it sucks to have moral victories, but hey, we honestly, if I take a step back and I play Monday morning quarterback, we did better than I expected on the season. I was
Yeah.
expecting to go like wild card 2, maybe squeeze in the playoffs and get swept by the Avalanche. But we didn't. We went wild card 1 and we took the Knights to 6, dude. So like I said
Yeah.
last week, pat yourself on the back, Mammoth fans. This was a great year. And this is my favorite time of the year because this is when we all have the hopes. This is when we sign maybe a crazy free agent, or we make a trade and we get McDavid, or we get Austin Matthews, or maybe we get like Hallebuck, or we get like another goaltender or something crazy. This is fun. I'm having a lot of fun watching the playoffs, and it's been fun talking to all my Slapshot friends and family now. Like, it's fun to like keep up with hockey. This has been an awesome year, dude.
Yeah, it certainly has. And if you want to keep up with the Slapshot Utah family, you want to keep up with the clubbers, you want to keep up with all your favorite Mammoth folks, you should probably think about coming to the Clubbers Cookout. You remember the Clubbers Cookout, John?
Yep, Clever's Cookout was awesome. We're gonna be there again this year. It's on May 23rd in Copperton Park. We'll have plenty of stuff all over our social medias at Slapshot Utah. It's going to be a great time. We're going to have a booth DJ. We're going to actually, Leroy, we're going to be DJing the block party outside of the clubhouse out there. We're going to have hats, what Leroy is having. We'll be selling them for $20 a piece. All proceeds will be going to Be the Hope. So come get your hat. We'll have stickers. We'll have good vibes. I'm going to bring my laptop. So we're going to be doing hot takes. You're going to be able to be on our YouTube channel, on Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to it.
Yeah, and of course, my brother Eric has created a specialty Slapshot Utah Kolsch beer. Bring your own booze, but come on and check us out at the Clubbers Cookout. It's going to be a hell of a great time. It's going to be a big turnout this year, is what I understand.
Hell yeah. Well, Leroy, it was great catching up with you. It's going to be a long off season because I really miss going to the Delta Center. But enjoy the playoffs, everybody. Take care of yourself. We'll see you at the Clubber Cookout. Don't forget to call this number. We're still doing voicemails. Anything you guys want to talk about, call this number. Like and subscribe on YouTube if you can. I feel like such a sellout saying that, but we love you. We'll see you at the Clubber Cookout, and we'll see you next week. Thank you for listening to another episode of Slapshot Utah.